Hello, this is Leith McCombs. Welcome to Legato and Enunciation, the fifth lesson in my singing skills series. What is legato? Legato is an Italian term used by singers and musicians to refer to a long extended phrase. That's not exactly right, but singing with the words extended to fill in the needs of the music. So using the example I used in the last lesson, I have a phrase, the dust of whose feet are the very hosts of heaven. If I say that, the dust of whose feet are the very hosts of heaven, those words are all very short. But singing it, I have all these notes to fill in. I'm going to go, the dust of whose feet are the very hosts of heaven, and fill out all of that space. And that is called legato singing. Now, there's vowels and there's consonants in the mix, right? The role of consonants is to be understood. The role of vowels is to make the sound. When you're speaking, you can make the vowels really, really, really short and still be understood. The dust of whose feet are the very hosts of heaven. You still probably understood that, even though I barely made any vowels at all. If I took the consonants out, what? Yeah, it would make no sense at all. So the consonants are really what shape our understanding of the text, and the vowels are what make the music. So we've been working with the vowels. We should give some attention to the consonants. This is where enunciation comes in. So enunciation is shaping the words so that they make sense, right? And shaping the words so that they're clear and crisp. So we want our consonants to be strong and easily understood. But the consonants that are true consonants, the K's and T's and S's and that, you can't really make them all that loud because there's no vocalization behind them. So you make them as loud as you reasonably can. You make them solid. You pronounce all of them more than you would if you were speaking. And the vowels fill all the space in between. So you can work with tongue twisters and patter songs as a way to improve your consonant enunciation. And we'll get into that. But I wanted you to have that general overall sense of how the pieces fit together. So when you're singing a legato phrase, you can put all the pieces in the right spot. So your phrase starts on the beat with the first vowel. Well, what if the word starts with a consonant? That means that consonant has to happen just before the beat. Your listener won't perceive it as being before the beat. They'll perceive it as you started the word on the beat. But really, your consonant goes just a little bit ahead of it. So if I'm the dust of whose feet are the very hosts of heaven. All those consonants were a little bit ahead of the beat. And the vowels held out as long as they could until it was time to get the next consonant. And if you have one word that ends in a consonant and your next word starts in a consonant, you mush them together. The dust of whose feet, right? Whose feet becomes who. So instead of saying whose feet, you say whose feet. Or whose feet are. Right? To get whose feet are. Whose feet are the very hosts of heaven. You mash the consonants together. In French, they call that liaison. We just call it mashing your consonants together. So, in a legato phrase, you mash your consonants together. You put your consonants just before the beat so that your vowel always starts the beat. You hold your vowel as long as you can. What about diphthongs? Well, the diphthongs, in general, you think of the end of a diphthong like you think of a consonant, because it's not really serving a musical purpose, it's serving a text purpose. So if you're going to sing, "Oh, won't you stay," you almost didn't hear the E at the end of stay, but it was there. "Won't you stay?" Just as I pull away from the sound, it goes in there. If you're going to continue the phrase, it tucks in right behind the consonant. "Won't you stay just a little bit longer?" So ija becomes the beginning of the next word. So you have your consonants that squeeze in just before the beat, the diphthong and squeeze in just in front of those, and that lets you put your vowel on the beat and hold it the full time so you can make the maximum music in your text. So, how do we train ourselves to do this? Well, we have some exercises that will help with that. And there's also some preparatory techniques you can use. So first, let's look at some exercises. Tongue twisters and patter songs are great for building up your control of consonants and enunciation. "I am the very model of a modern major general." Everyone knows that, or many people know that one. "I have information, vegetable, animal, and mineral." If you practice that, like look at the text and just practicing that and really focus on getting every consonant in there and getting the vowel clean between them, you will improve your enunciation. You will be better understood. And the thing is, when we're talking, we don't normally talk like that. I wouldn't say I have information. I am the very model of a modern major general. I have information, vegetable, animal, and mineral. That sounds real artificial, but you have to over-enunciate. You have to overemphasize the consonants and the transitions between the vowels to be understood, because when you're singing, you're probably louder than when you're speaking, and there might be an orchestra behind you, or a karaoke machine, or instruments, or other singers, and your song is in a not natural speaking cadence, so it's harder to be understood when you're singing. So you have to overcompensate. So take the time, pick your favorite patter song, whether it's major general or anything else, and just work through maximizing all of the consonants and transitions. That will get your enunciation skills up. Now, for developing your legato, it's best to do that with songs you already sing or songs you already are working on or want to learn. It feels too artificial to do that without the context of the song. So what most singers I know do, especially when they're training in their legato, is you map out the phonemes of the song. Phoneme means a part of a word, a syllable typically, or a word sound, a sound component of a word. So if I was going to map out that first example I used, I would draw lines where the beats are. So the dust, so I draw a line right after the D in dust. Dusta, and right before the O and of, dust of who, and the O and whose, dust of whose feet, and right before the E, first E in feet. And I would continue that through the whole song. And then I would actually practice speaking it like I was just doing, speaking it in that weird, rhythmic, not natural speaking way, to get used to just focusing on the timing aspect of my phrase, and not worrying about pitch or tone color or any of that. Just going, the The dust of whose feet are the very hosts of heaven. You get it? And go through the whole song that way. Doing that exercise a few times with maybe 3 different songs as you learn them will get the legato process feeling pretty natural. So I've left out one thing, and that is the consonants that aren't really consonants. I've kind of been talking about true consonants like K and T and stuff, but what about R and Y and M? Those are things you can hold notes on. So they're not really consonants from a singing perspective. So with those, you need to treat them as vowels, but recognize their role as consonants, which doesn't necessarily make any sense. But if you think about it in specific examples, you have to look at how it's used. I am the very model of a modern major general. That M is not a thing you would naturally hold out. Model, you're starting a word with it. You're going from there into a vowel. And so the M is being a consonant. And M is almost always a consonant. You don't hold unless you're humming. And then, well, you have to pretend it's the vowel. So you can hold an M or an N. But it doesn't happen a lot in most songs, unless you're like maybe you're in a choir and you have a humming section while the soloist does the main melody. But R and Y tend to be used as vowels a lot more often. Depending on the phrase, whatever for, there it's being used as a consonant because you have the O coming into it. But if you're holding the word girl, like in the Beatles song, a girl, the R is a vowel. And it's so it's somewhere between and with your lips a little bit forward. It's just this weird hybrid vowel you do. So you find your R sound as a hybrid vowel. Figure out where your tongue has to be. Figure out where your lips have to be. And you go So for me it's so I go from and bring my lips forward a little bit. It might be a little different for you. I go, oh girl, and then the L on the end of it is being a consonant. Very hard to find any examples of the L being used as a vowel, though technically you could, but I don't think anybody would want to. Oh, this doesn't sound good. R comes out as a vowel in a lot of Irish songs, but also a lot of English language songs in general. It gets used as a vowel a lot. So what's left is, we can do some legato exercises. One I like to do is meow. And because when you think about it, what is a meow? It is so a consonant that can be a little bit of a vowel. And then it's this, not even a diphthong, but it's a triphthong, quadrophthong. Meow. A triphthong or even a quadrophthong, made that word up, because meow. So you're actually going through almost all your vowels right there. So you're just gonna take it down a scale. You're gonna go meow, 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 meow. You want it nice and sonorous. You don't really want to sound like a cat, usually. And that's just a nice, relaxing exercise. You can even use it as a warm-up because it's not strenuous, but it just helps you get into that legato phrasing. Meow, 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 meow. You can keep your breath nice and even, keep your phrasing nice and even. It's nice and smooth. And that is, I think, all we have for this lesson. So I will see you at the next one.